Hello, and welcome back to the Fruit of Grisaia. Last time, we did stuff. I don't know why I'm forgetting what we did, but we did stuff that was probably not very useful. Oh right, we started a flashback to, or a reminiscence, an imagination of what Amane would think life would have been like if this stuff didn't happen. It was a little past 5 o'clock. Normally, I would have headed home from after-school practice right about that time. I tended to come home a little hungry from practice. The refrigerator would be packed full of sweet drinks. Like no table, more snacks than I could possibly need were always waiting for me. After a satisfying snack, I could head to the bathroom and take a long, luxurious soak in steaming hot water. As soon as I heard her, I could go to the bathroom. I did not think she was going to talk about taking a bath. That is not the first thing that came to mind. Just like the flint of something in my mind going by, like, wait, no, wait, are you going this direction, game? No, it didn't. Okay. Sorry. Then cool down with a cup of cold milk, idly distorting my voice in the electric fan while my mother prepared dinner. Without even asking, my parents offered me more food than I could eat. I accepted it without a second thought, often without even a word of thanks. That stupid, ungrateful ignorance filled me with bitter shame. At the same time, comparing myself to the filthy, frightened girl who just quivered ecstatically over a single piece of candy, I couldn't repress a surge of miserable self-pity.
Amane? どうして泣くの?
Right, yeah. She's definitely starting to dwell over mistakes, isn't she?
泣いてないよ。周りを見てごらんなさい。
As instructed, I looked around the area, only to find it deserted.
今はあなたと私しかいないわ。
There's no need to hold back. The instant those words left her mouth, I felt the tear glance swell up in the corner of my eyes. My self-restraint crumbled like sand, and I burst into violent sobs. Crying wasn't going to fix anything. Nobody was going to swoop down and rescue me. No matter how much I grieved over my powerlessness and ignorance, there was no do-overs to be had. What was done could not be undone.
帰りたい。私、帰りたいよ、和樹。
Hiding my twisted, wretched expression behind the palm of my hand, I crumbled to my knees on the spot. Without a word, Kazuki drew near, wrapped her arms around my head, and hugged me against her slender stomach. Pathetic. Utterly pathetic. When I was still a child, there was a girl among the neighborhood kids who break into tears at the slightest thing. I remember thinking of her as a nuisance, a stupid, useless crybaby. If I weep, somebody will come help me. Somebody will take pity on me and solve my problems for me. The transparent self-interest behind her actions was just as irritating as the blubbering itself. And now, I'd become just a worthless, moaning crybaby, rubbing my running nose against the belly of a girl considerably smaller than me, sobbing to her skirt.
ごめん、和樹。ごめんね。許して。いいのよ、大丈夫。今すぐってわけにはいかないけれど、いつか必ず私があなたを家に帰してあげる。約束するわ。
You make a promise? As she spoke, Kazuki took one arm from around my head and began to softly stroke my hair. My family wasn't with me. There's no way such a pointless, clingy little breakdown could have been anything but irritating to anyone in this place. They were all suffering just the same. But even so, Kazuki didn't push me aside. She held me gently in her arms and accepted it all, offering me soothing, hopeful words. That kindness was painful in its own right, but at the same time, it felt like an irreplaceably precious gift.
和樹は辛くないの？帰りたくないの？
Turning my face up from Kazuki's belly, I met her gaze with watery eyes and mumbled a distinctly childish question. She gave a little laugh, her stomach shaking lightly against me, and answered, "Don't worry about me. I'm a genius."
帰りたいかと聞かれれば、それはもちろん帰りたいわ。私がいないうちに弟が両親にいじめられてやしないかと思うと気が気じゃないわ。
I thought you were gonna say in my stead. Closing a single eye, Kazuki furrowed her brow and pursed her lips.
こんなことになるのなら、小森さんが犬をそうしたように、私も弟をバッグに詰めて内緒で連れ込んでしまえばよかった。失敗したわね。
Oh great, you would have killed Yuuji too. Nah, I'm pretty sure that wouldn't have worked out too well for you. With one final loud sniffle, I found my sobs had given way to a small burst of laughter.
天才でも失敗するんだ。もちろん天才だって失敗はするわ。失敗を失敗で終わらせない人を天才というのよ。そしてそれに一生気がつかない人を凡人と呼ぶの。天才も楽じゃないね。私の苦労を思いばかる余裕が出たのなら、そろそろ泣き止んでいただける？大の男を腹で泣かせることができれば女として一人前だとは言うけれど、あなたは女の子だしね。そろそろうっと優しくないな、和樹は。それは心外だわ。私だってできることならあなたが泣き疲れて眠ってしまうまでベッドで絵本でも読んであげたいけれど、ここにはベッドも絵本もないのだから仕方がないでしょ。ごめんね。多分もう大丈夫だから。なんだろうね。自分でもなんで急に泣いたのかわからないよ。流した涙はきっちりと舐めておきなさい。貴重な塩分がもったいないわ。それと
Hey, why don't you lick the tears from her? It'd be much easier for you to lick them from... Oh, God. Kazuki reached out, took my hand, dropped all the remaining candy and chocolate into my palm.
これはあなたに預けます。即効性の高い熱量食は貴重よ。私がいいと言うまで手をつけずに保管すること。いい？
Which means they're probably gonna be the key to surviving, yeah?
わかった。
If Kazuki was entrusting me with such important provisions, it's clear she genuinely trusted me. I absolutely couldn't betray that trust. Biting my lower lip at this heavy sense of responsibility, I stared intently at the chocolate in hand. Watching my reaction, Kazuki sighed slowly through her nose.
生真面目なのはいいけれど、責任と責任感を履き違えないことね。そうやって何でも我慢して耐えちゃう子は弟を見ているようで切なくなるし、そんな子は長生きはできないわよ。責任と責任感って何が違うの？負うべきものが責任、負わなくていいものまで追いたがるのが責任感。その境目を見失わないように。よくわからないけど、わかったふりだけしておくよ。
I don't get it. But I don't need to get it either. If Katsuki says so, that's the way it is. I was aware I'd taken the easy path in letting someone else think for me, but honestly, I didn't really care anymore. A clumsy idiot who tries to take a heavy burden on their shoulders won't achieve anything but catastrophic failure. I understood that just fine even before Kazuki drove the point home. It's just me, or does Kazuki seem to be confusing her responsibility for her sense of responsibility in the way she described it? For that very reason, I decided to obey her orders without a second thought. Kazuki told me I couldn't eat that candy without her permission, so I would sit on my haunches slobbering like a dog until she spoke the magic words. Yep, dog metaphor comes back again. And if permission never came, I'd wait out the years and carry them to my grave. Unless I melted. In this situation where nothing seemed certain except uncertainty, the one and only thing I had to come to believe in was Kazami Kazuki. I kept the thought to myself since I was well aware she'd only offer another sarcastic, might be mistaking me for God in response. But at this point I probably would have answered, what, you're not? That was what Kazuki Kazami had become for me. And the 5th day in the valley. Well, at least it's not like really, well, I say at least, but at the same time, is rain better? It's gonna be harder to say warm. Our bodies are gonna have to compensate again for that. We should probably stay in the tents the entire time. Hopefully they do well against the rain. Let's begin from the conclusion. Today, it rained all day long. To be honest, I had no idea rain could be this unpleasant. The constant drumming of water against the tent was unexpectedly loud, enough to make conversation difficult, and the light entering the tent was far dimmer than usual. Thanks to my strong astigmatism, everything seemed fuzzy and indistinct, so it was extremely difficult to do much of anything. Right, that does pose the problem of getting more food. But the bigger problem was that the rainwater that oozed up from the ground beneath us, and the damp chill it brought. This morning, I woke to a real double whammy. The psychological jolt of emerging from a familiar nightmare, and the physical pain of a throbbing headache. I'd piled 2 mats under my sleeping bag last night, but when I came to, I was soaking wet. My body temperature had fallen as I slept, and the chilled blood run through my veins and numbed the blood vessels in my brain. Even after waking, my calorie-starved body struggled to warm itself. My teeth chattering uncontrollably in my mouth, I stared reproachfully up through the tent at the merciless sky. Changing out my wet clothes might have helped matters somewhat if my spare outfit hadn't been soaked through as well. I hit on the idea of a hot drink after a few minutes, but it was pouring outside the tent. Starting a fire would have been difficult, and more importantly, the fierce sound of rain striking against the canvas had thoroughly drained me of the willpower to even poke my head outside. Apparently unable to just sit back and watch, Kazuki had ventured out into the midst of the downpour for my sake, bringing back boiling water for our onion skin extract beverage. The stuff was never really worthy of the name tea, but now we'd let those same skins seep so many times it was a little more than faintly yellow water. Of course, I was plenty happy to even have that, and Kazuki's act of mercy contrasted so strongly with my own cowardice that I felt about ready to cry with gratitude. When I glanced over at her sitting there, her wet hair matted like a stray dog's coat, I couldn't exactly fire off a casual "sure, a refill would be nice." My hands still gripping the empty cup, I slowly shook my head.
ひどい雨だね。明け方近くに大きな雷が何度も落ちたのに、あなた全然目を覚まさなかったわね。なんか大きな音がしてるなとは思ったけど。
Even when the roars jolted me awake for a moment, my listlessness quickly overwhelmed me again. I simply didn't have the energy to wake up that early. Immediately after the fall, I'd been unable to sleep through the night. As I dozed lightly with frequent interruptions, the morning often seemed to sneak up on me before I knew it. But lately, that had changed dramatically. Once I managed to doze off, it was very difficult to wake up. More and more, falling asleep felt like sinking into a thick bed of mud.
疲れてるのかな。肉体的というよりは精神的な疲労が濃いのでしょうね。それと単純に環境に慣れ始めたのが原因ね。過酷な環境に慣れないうちは寝ている間に記憶の整理を行いながらも周囲の状況に警戒を怠らないから小さな物音でも目を覚ましてしまうのよ。
That did sound plausible. Yeah, I can't confirm or deny. I don't really know about that stuff. Now that you mention it, the first few days sleeping in the tent, the stirring of the neighbor next door would be enough to jerk me awake, and my eyes would open automatically at the first light of dawn. In that respect, Kazami Kazuki was an ideal tent mate. Once asleep, she lied so still in her bag, I sometimes half worried she suddenly died in there. I never once heard her snore or grunt in her sleep. Maybe she doesn't go to sleep. Maybe she hasn't been to sleep this entire time. Lately, Kazuki had been sleeping on a very regular schedule. We'd start preparations for dinners at 6:30 p.m. and finish our meal by 7, or what passed for a meal at this point at least. By 8 o'clock, I noticed her stifling small yawns, and around 9 she would come out and declare herself sleepy. At 10, she would crawl into our tent, cheerfully spread out her sleeping bag, take off her uniform, and leave it neatly folded at her bedside. And the instant her head hit the rucksack she used for the pillow, she'd exhale noisily just once and go silent, Within 10 seconds, I'd hear the soft, regular breathing that indicated she'd fallen asleep. Of course, I couldn't flip the switch to sleep mode quite so easily, or on such a predictable schedule. My conversational partner lost, I had very little to do with myself late at night. So until I managed to fall asleep, I'd stave off boredom by staring at Kazuki's sleeping face. After a few minutes in dreamland, she'd occasionally make faces in her sleep, most often furrowing her brow in a caricature of troubled thought, sometimes smiling utopically at nothing in particular.
ねえ、和樹って夢を見たりするの?
How? You know, I wonder if she's actually asleep, and Kazuki's just like, oh my goodness, she's staring at me again. Make a face, make a face.
そうね。看護師さんとかお花屋さんとかケーキ屋さんなんて素敵ね。
Wait, that last one? Interesting.
そういう話じゃなくってさ。
And in the first place, what's with the half-assed attempt at pretending you're some run-of-the-mill girl with a cutesy little dreams? Forget being a nurse. Forget being a nurse. You'd be much better suited to the role of a black market surgeon with a tattered old doctor's robe, florist, cupcake peddler, con artist, maybe the founder of some sketchy cult.
ああ、夢って睡眠時に見る方の話？それならもちろん見るわよ。どんな夢？今日見たのは学校に入りたての頃、学食のセルフサービスのシステムがよくわからなくて戸惑った時の夢を見たわ。基本的に過去に経験した記憶の再配置が多いかしら。空を飛んだりするような夢はあまり見ないわね。そうなんだ。私は最近高いところから落ちる夢をよく見るよ。
I wonder what that might be indicative of. I've had dreams of that sort ever since I was a child. Wait, what? Most often I'm falling from the top of a cliff. Oh, that's... Your dreams were foreshadowing? As the ground beneath my feet crumbles to nothing, I plunge downward. I stare in quiet composure at the earth far below. My thoughts are oddly calm. I guess I'm going to land right about there. And as long as I keep that detached perspective, I never seem to hit the ground. But eventually, it occurs to me that I'm dreaming. In the next moment, I slam into the earth and jerk a weight in my bed, my whole body rigid with shock. What might be a dream like that, What might a dream like that signify? Kazuki's answer was a brief... It means you're uneasy? Other than falling, my most common dream was probably of the running variety. This very morning, I found myself fleeing vaguely, some vaguely defined but menacing pursuers. A countless number of black shadows hot on my heel, I was pushing my way desperately forward through oily thick air, dragging my strangely heavy legs along the ground. The illusion was unusually persistent. Even when I realized it was a dream, it kept its hold on me, just as I began to beg myself to wake up. My eyes had slowly opened to the sensation of that throbbing headache. I turned on my cell phone briefly to check the time. Apparently it was already past 2 p.m. Really? The rain was still hammering fiercely down, but now the tent was half submerged in muddy water. There was nothing to do but curl myself up in my heavy, wet uniform, rubbing my arms and trembling from the cold. Although I was doing nothing at all, my stomach was still growling. Although my stomach was growling, it was still raining outside. Thinking at the time it would take to start cooking a cooking fire, I lost all my motivation to try. What were the other girls doing right now? Eating whatever candy they had left? Probably. I took a quick glance outside the entrance of the tent, but the downpour... there didn't seem to be anyone moving through the downpour. They must have been all quietly enduring the storm in their tents. A steady drumming of the rain was the only sound I could hear. The cries of the cicadas, so vigorous and so persistent when the weather was clear, were utterly gone. So, too, the eerie shrieks of the unseen birds hidden in the treetops above.
Kazuki?
Suddenly wanting to hear another human voice, I called Kazuki's name. There was no response. When I looked over, I found Kazuki sitting on her sleeping mat, just as before, but at this point her eyes had fallen closed.
そうか、2時か。
Every day, Kazaki would take a nap sometime between 2 and 3 in the afternoon. It was never more than a quick 15-minute doze, so the first few times I thought she just nodded off without, out of exhaustion. But it happened every day at roughly the same time, so soon it became obvious that this little siesta was part of her schedule.
Nobody's
going to complain if you lie down like a normal person. Of course, considering the minor flood we had going on in here, that probably wouldn't be much more relaxing option at the moment. This is a grave problem indeed. We'd have to think of a countermeasure of some sort before it happened again. We'd also have to deal with the mud in the after effects, yeah? This place, this is downpouring so much, this is going to be muddy for days. Unless it gets really hot. It's not like we have that much sun. We have the cliffs and the trees. The sun comes down, but it's not like a direct sunlight, so it's unlikely that this area gets heated too easily. So even just drying up the ground's going to be a bitch. But the damn floor isn't the only inconvenience brought on by the rain. For one thing, writing in this diary isn't easy when the pages are wet. Yeah, I was wondering, was that like on the ground getting soaked? And unfortunately, I've been in the grips of a much more serious dilemma for a while now. Probably thanks to the big mug of onion tea this morning, I'm currently enduring a desperate need for a visit to the bathroom. We really gonna go into this. The urge to pee was painfully intense, requiring constant effort to restrain. My pen trembled against the diary pages as I wrote. I surveyed the interior of the tent, but found nothing that might serve as a makeshift umbrella or raincoat. When this rain lets up, I'm going straight to the captain, proposing we cobble together an outhouse with a roof. I'm making a special note of that here, so it can't possibly slip my mind. She's gonna forget. The 6th day in the valley. We have a problem. I didn't write it in my diary last time, but I couldn't hold it. No! Wow, okay. So, it actually cleared up. Lucky them. After a full day of unrelenting rain, we woke up to a blessedly cleared morning. Our life here had begun to assume something of a rhythm. Initially, our mornings were a bit chaotic with people crawling out of their tents at random times, but recently everyone's waking up by, say, 6 a.m. at the latest. Although it would be more accurate to say they're being forcibly woken up. Naturally, the one beating the stragglers out of bed is none other than my partner, Kazami Kazaki. Of course, that doesn't mean she literally goes around thrashing them. It would be much too inefficient. The recipient of the violence is the bottom of an anodized aluminum cooking pot. 15 minutes before 6 a.m. wake-up call, Kazaki dangled the pot in question from a tree branch and began to wail away on the metal surface with a wooden sword she nicknamed the Punishment Rod, producing a piercing series of clangs. Then shouted a wake-up call in a full military style. What's the deal with that punishment rod anyway? Oh, why do I feel like that's going to be important? Sadly, it's nothing more than a crude wooden sword we used to split watermelons as part of our recreational activities at the camp. And when someone as tiny as Kazaki brandishes around it looks like less like a weapon, more like a prop for some corny slapstick routine. 10 minutes after that initial wake-up came the signal for folding hammocks. Apparently, we're on an old-fashioned battleship now. After 5 minutes to roll up our sleeping bags and mat, the pot received another vigorous thrashing for the 6 a.m. muster. All hands lined up in front of the tent for roll call. Obviously, this is all pretty annoying, and at first there were a lot of complaints. But when forcefully informed that fixing a regular scheduled activity in order to reset your body's internal clock is a fundamental basis of a sound health maintenance plan, and nobody had enough of a counter-argument to voice open objections. And so, every morning, the entire group gathers obediently in line for daily physical. Daily physical? What? Or, as the seniors refer to it behind our backs, Professor Kazami's tour of inspection. Wow. She's doing more of a leadership role than... I wouldn't be surprised if, what's-her-face leader girl, I don't remember names very well, would be having a notable problem with this. It would be sort of surprising if she didn't. I can imagine a problem coming up. These health checkups amount to little more than a quick interview about any ailments, followed by any words of caution by the doctor that the doctor has to offer. But considering her isolation and general cluelessness, Kazuki's extensive knowledge has become something of a reassuring guidepost for many, so this daily advice is fairly well received for the most part. As the comparison to an imperious doctor sweeping around their hospital might suggest, Kazuki has a retinue on these rounds. I tag along beside her from one patient to the next, taking notes in the memo pad we've devoted to medical records. A summary I jot down at the end of the page doesn't change much from day to day. No major problems given the circumstances. To rephrase, everyone's suffering from varying degrees of malnutrition, but they're not about to keel over and die today or tomorrow. After the general inspection, we turn our attention to those who suffered external injuries, that is, Kaneda and the cut on her forehead, as well as Sakurai and her lacerated abdomen. We perform what treatment we can, cleaning the crudely stitched wounds with disinfectant made from wild herbs, then replacing their bandages with ones we'd wash clean and sterilized in boiling water. And finally, we stopped to visit Hiroko-san in a large tent to wipe the sweat from her feverish body. Well, this part's pretty much exclusively my job by now. Hey, I got given a job. I'm useful. Yay. When the morning rounds are finished at last, I seek out Mr. Uchi and report everyone's health as acceptable, while Kazuki heads to Koide-senpai's tent. The daily rations for each individual are being adjusted depending on the severity of their malnutrition symptoms, as diagnosed by Kazuki. Oh, perfect! So when people don't get enough food, we're going to basically turn it into a, oh, it's Kazuki's fault. Let's rebel! Or someone's gonna try that at least. The distribution of the day's food, or as Kazuki refers to it, chow time, is out at 7 a.m. Until then, everyone's supposed to take care of their laundry and air out their bedding. In particular, our sleeping bags have to be thoroughly dried in the sun on a regular basis, or they'll be sprouting clumps of mold before we know it. After passing on the medical report, I return to our tent, grabbing Kazuki's bedding along with mine, then lay them out on top of the tent to dry. Finally, I head to the stream to take care of our combined laundry, then make my way to the captain's tent with our rice cooker to receive our daily rations. You have a rice cooker for every group? The routine started normally enough this morning, but at this final step, we ran into our first serious breakdown in the process. One that will probably have lingering effects going forward. I arrived slightly early at the captain's tent, where she manages our entire food supply in cooperation with Mr. Ochi and her partner. Pretty was waiting inside as usual, but her face was ghastly pale. What happened?
何かあったんですか? 一本足りないの。どうしよう。
We're short one what? Ration?
足りないって何がです? 人参の数よ。小出さん、数え間違いではなくて?
Ooh.
もう一度数え直してみては?
Oh, someone's gonna get suspicious. Time for a descent in the ranks.
人参?
As they explained the situation to me, there had been a total of 11 carrots carefully stocked away. On Captain Sakashida's orders, when the number fell to 10, they were planning to halt distribution, hold the rest in reserve, but when Koide-san counted this morning, the 11th carrot they'd been intending to divide and hand out to the group was missing. Are these big carrots? Or are these... When you say carrot, I think of those little baby carrots, admittedly, so I'm just imagining them like, okay, we're gonna cut this up into 10 pieces and just hand them out. It's like, oh, thank you. You probably use more energy than you get from eating them.
じゃあ、今日から人参は配給されないってこと?
So yeah, probably not. Probably one of the big ones, the normal ones.
それはさして重要ではないのよ。問題はいつの間にか一本消えていたという事実ね。消えた? 人参に足があるわけでもないし、一人でに消えることはないわ。ということは可能性は2つ。単純に数え間違い。私じゃないよ。私食べてない。本当だよ。私人参なんて嫌いだし。疑ってはいませんから安心してください。ただそうなるともっと厄介な問題が浮上してくるのよね。
I wonder, would it be better to keep this under wraps, assuming she didn't miscount, to just say she miscounted, to convince her that she miscounted, and hope that the person doesn't do it again? Or would you prefer to handle it directly? Bring it up, force the issue, which is problematic in its own way, because people aren't going to be able to forget that. Even if you decide that someone took it and you put it off, as long as people are aware that someone took it, then problems will occur regardless. But if you don't want to face those problems, you risk that happening again, causing problems to everyone else. So the question is, do you try to face the issue and stop it, as well as the repercussions of trust being broken? That betrayal thing that she talked about? Or do you just try to stop, stop people from, or do you just like ignore it, try to make no one worry and try to stop it, probably on yourself, from happening again? I sort of imagine Kazuya would do the keeping it from people aspect and try to handle it on her own, but maybe not.
どういうこと？つまり誰かが盗んだという問題です。盗まれた？誰に？そう、厄介なのはその点です。こんな閉鎖空間で犯人探しでも始めようものなら、誰もが疑心に暗鬼を生みます。正直、現状では結束や信頼が失われるのが最大のデメリットです。
Everyone suspects everyone else, and is suspected in turn. That's never a pleasant feeling, and it rarely ends well. It certainly wouldn't help our group that our group was composed of half-starved teenage girls. If the criminal was discovered, there's no doubt she would have faced a vicious denunciation session. And if the investigation failed, it was all too obvious that the reign of condemnation of all set on Koide for allowing this theft from our food supply to take place through her incompetence.
ちゃんと千秋さんの言う通りに、部長の言う通りにしただけだよ。
Okay, stop. We shouldn't be worrying about blame at the moment. We should be worrying about what we should do. Blame, if necessary, comes later. You don't... It's a problem if everyone's worried about being blamed. Truth is important. What you do with that truth comes after, I believe. At the very least, you shouldn't be focusing on that.
落ち着きなさい、りっちゃん。いや、りっちゃんって呼んでやるなよ、先輩だぞ。あんた幼馴染か。いいですか、小出さん。幸いなことに、人参紛失の事実を知っているのは、ここにいる人間と犯人だけです。つまり、黙っていればバレないのではなくて？うわ、隠蔽だよ。泥に泥を塗って隠す気だ、この女。
Right. I am still worried that having Koide and Amane to some extent be aware that it happened. And not be convinced that it was miscounted. That information's gonna get out. I think the only way that path really is very viable is if you try to make everyone convinced that they don't have to worry, so that they themselves aren't acting suspiciously, because that would at the very least remove the not at least remove the potential issues, yeah, in them revealing it and causing the other problems, while also causing the problems with this, and also you can easily get to a worst of both worlds situation.
それは無理。人参の残りの本数は部長も先生も知ってるし、黙っていてもいつかバレちゃう。
It wasn't a proportionally large theft, but carrots are easy enough to count. Its disappearance would be all too obvious.
この場合、解決法というか打開策は2つあります。面白い方法とつまらない方法があるけれど、どっちが聞きたい？
Fun way every time.
面白い方。
いや、両方聞かせろよ。
それじゃあまずは面白い方だけど、これは簡単。もうね、いっそのことここにある人参全部持って逃げる。
どこに？
人参がなくなって何が困るって、突き詰めた話部長にこっぴどく叱られるのが一番嫌なわけでしょ。だったら人参を全部持って山に逃げ込んで、そのまま脱出を試みてはどうかしら。
Okay, that doesn't sound too fun.
うまいこと脱出して救助を呼ぶことができれば、たかが人参を持ち逃げしたことなんてもう誰も責めないだろうし、むしろ救世主として末代までの語り草になるわよ。
Okay, this may be fun for you, Kazuki, but...
それがあんたの言う面白い方法？
面白いわよね。
To you?
いや、全然。
あれ？
あれ？じゃねえよ。真面目に考えてよ。私、このままじゃ千秋さんに怒られる。
Go shuck yourself. God, motherfucking damn. Editing Echo, remember that should be episode title.
ちなみに、つまらない方法ってのは？
ああ、それはもう本当につまらないわよ。ただ、
何それ？
要は人参の本数が合っていれば何も問題はないのでしょう。
With those words, Cassie picked up a kitchen knife and casually lopped off the tip of the nearest carrot. With quick, firm strokes, she sliced the carrot into pieces, then started right in on the next one.
ちょっと、貴重な食べ物をおもちゃにしないで。
So basically the idea is to pretend we haven't. Hand out the food. We actually have 9 back here, and we just pretend that there's 10 back here.
まあいいから落ち着いてよく見なさい。どう？ほら、これで11本。
When I looked down at the cutting board, the missing vegetable had somehow reappeared. I counted the sliced carrots again, slowly and carefully. There are 11 total.
何これ？11本。あれ？嘘！本当に11本ある。不思議。どうやったの？
結構有名なパズルなんだけれど、知らない？
Nope. I'm not really sure exactly what you did in the first place.
ある物体を切り分けて並べ替えると全体の面積が増えたり、逆にピースを追加しても面積は変化しないといったよくあるパラドックスパズルよ。
Huh.
あ、そういえば、なんかお土産物屋さんの店先で木でできたそんなパズル見たことがある。
多分それはペントミノとかそれ系のものだと思うけど、今回私がやったのはもっとずっと単純なものよ。一部が欠けているのが一目でわかるしね。
Huh. Okay. Did she cut up all the carrots? I thought it said 1. I might have just read it wrong. Into the next one. Okay, right there. Okay, nope, yep.
人参の本数がもっと多ければそれに比例して欠損部が小さくなるからバレにくいんだけど。
気持ち悪い。魔女だ。あんた魔女だよ。恐ろしい。
失礼な。あんまり生意気なことを言うとネズミに変えるわよ。
This is definitely a better way of doing it.
私、魔女でもいい。風見さん、ありがとう。この恩は必ず返すから。
いいのよりっちゃん、気にしないで。
だからりっちゃん呼ぶなって。先輩だっつってんだろ。
Was Koichi-senpai aware exactly who she just put herself in debt to? A sadist. A clever sadist at that. Even so, Kazuki said not to worry about it, so maybe a little trick like that doesn't even register as a favor for her. Personally, though, I thought her smile at that moment was saying, I don't expect you to be of much use to me anyway. And it sent a bit of a chill down my spine. Either way, I sure as heck didn't have the courage to ask Kazuki for clarification. No, I could imagine that. on to the 7th day in the valley. Status quo unchanged. In the end. Nah, I guess that's a bit too extreme, an abridged version. We'd spent a solid week now shipwrecked. Naturally, no one was running around like chickens with their heads cut off anymore. Our lives had taken on the repetitive quality of a long-running television show that's decayed into a pale imitation of its former self. The kind you keep watching every week out of sheer inertia. Although we were thoroughly sick of eating or even looking at the vile plant soup that had become our primary sustenance, its proportion of our diet was only rising. The amount of rice distributed to us was decreasing steadily with each passing day. And we're probably also running through a lot of the actual edible plants in the area too. And even the edible grasses that seemed so infinitely abundant at first were vanishing with alarming swiftness from the picked over areas near the entrance of the forest. Everything was in short supply. About the only thing we were gaining more from the day to day was boredom. As we'd grown accustomed to life here, there's a lot less pointless effort being expended, and a lot more time spent sitting around quietly, preserving our energy. Other than that, I suppose we at least had an effectively limitless supply of water from the spring. But since we were all using it heavily, the water needed to be boiled before we could drink. There were a number of people who found this delay irritating, sometimes skipping it entirely, myself among them, but Kazaki strongly recommended that we heat the water to 170 degrees for at least a minute, in order to kill the bacteria likely proliferating in the stream. And in fact, it seemed that chronic diarrhea had begun to spread among those who continued to drink the water raw. Yep.
下痢で思い出した。びっくりした。
The outhouse thing?
急に大きな声を出さないでといつも言っているでしょうに、あなたは本当にもう何なのかしら。私を驚かすのがあなたの中で静かなブームを巻き起こしているとでも言うの？
Whoa, calm down.
あ、ごめん。とりあえず息継ぎをしよう。死んじゃうよ。
次やったらお尻をぶつわよ。
Wait.
いや、シャアからごめんって。それより聞いて。
何なの？
トイレを作ろうよ。
Or maybe I should make that the episode title. Let's make it. Instead of doing a let's play the Fruit of Grisaia, I could do let's make a toilet. Tempting. Very tempting.
は？なぜ病原菌の発生源をわざわざ。あ、いや、そうか。今のうちにガソリンを。なるほど。まずプラスが1ね。
カズキ？
When I tentatively called her name, Kazuki instantly thrust up her right index finger. She's thinking, yeah? This is a signal for wait 10 seconds. If I ignored this command and kept talking, I knew all too well Kazuki would fire right back at with the force of don't spew out gas of worthless noise at me when I'm not ready to listen. Then glare at me with deep dark eyes full of cold scorn, muttering, almost like a television in human form, in disgusted tone of voice, someone pulled out of bed by a telemarketer. I quickly learned to respect the signal. By now, one finger in the air from Kazuki, and I fell instantly silent for 10 seconds. You could practically see my tail dripping between my legs, like a dog given a firm command to wait. Man, the dog comparisons are so strong in Grisaia. There's like no way this wasn't done on purpose. Honestly, I felt a little perverse admiration to how well she trained me.
いいアイデアだと思うわ。
I had no idea what sort of calculations Kazaki ran through in those 10 seconds to reverse her initial decision. Maybe she projected the pluses and minuses of building an outhouse through the next decade or so. Whatever the case, I had her permission to proceed with the toilet construction plan. That settled, I headed off to ask Captain Takashida's opinion on the matter, admittedly for the sake of the form more than anything else.
風見さんは何て言っているの？どうせ風見さんが許可を出したから私のところに来たのでしょ？
まあ。
だったら勝手にすれば？そうやっていちいち私に責任を押し付けないと気が済まないの？
There we go. Yep. It seems like that's basically her character now. She doesn't want responsibility.
別にそういうわけじゃ。
Nobody wants responsibility. Same with her like little subordinate there, yeah, Koide? Or what, wait, yeah, I think that's her name. Every student club in our school had its factional disputes. In particular, the sports team were notorious for their bitter infighting. You could fill a book with petty spats that raged every year. Oh, are you saying that she's more upset over the idea that Kazami gave the approval first before she came to her? Our basketball team was no exception from the rule, but it was somewhat unusual in that our conflicts never got too serious. The reason for that lay at the top. Captain Sakashida's charismatic presence would be a nice way to spin it, but to make a long story short, everyone's too afraid of her powerful family to risk making an enemy out of her. Powerful family? What do you mean, powerful family? Why are they powerful? What? But out here, her parents' influence is no longer a prop to her authority. As our focus narrowed to the problems immediately before us, some potential future reprisal was the last thing on anyone's mind. In other words, the captain's position was growing uncertain. Our education in that school for rich young ladies might not have provided us with many practical skills, but there was one noticeable exception. It instilled us a sharp sense of smell. As to say, the ability to sniff out the winning horse in any given race. In the school for rich young ladies. Okay. The smell of a clear winner always attracts a crowd, even when they lie at rest. Over the several days we'd spent in the valley, the number of people surrounding the Captain Sakashida had visibly declined. Her only consistent companion was Koide Ritsu, bound to her by a simplistic sense of obligation.
もういいよ、アマネ。行こう。
As I stood stock still in front of the captain, trying in vain to find some response to her words, my fellow freshman Ibuki Haruna pulled me away by my hand. Always she in on the plan, too. Ibuki Haruna, the only child of the president of a corporation headquartered in Kasakabe, that imported and sold luxury foreign cars. In Kazuki's opinion, deciding the incident despite her total ignorance of the ways of the world, limitless and lazy to boot, an exemplary child of the modern era. Ooh. In the opinion of her dorm roommate, Sakuma, a total coward at heart despite constantly acting tough, and she doesn't even realize everyone knows it.
だいたいさ、アマネはいい子すぎなんだよ。善人なんて損するだけだって。そう言われてもな。
Personally, the idea of gaining personal profit at the expense of being despised by others never really appealed to me. My mom always raised me to be not to be a nuisance to others. Live your life so you earn folks' gratitude, not their scorn.
うちはほら、会社の輸入とかやっているでしょ。もうね、びっくりするよ。特にイタリア人。仕事に対する考え方が日本人とは全然違うの。注文した車と届いた車の色が違うなんてのはもう普通だし、クレームの電話を入れれば、担当者は今誤水の時間ですって。昼寝してるから電話に出られないってどう？
Okay, that's...
時間をずらして何度も電話して、やっと担当者が捕まったかと思えば、こちらはちゃんと注文通りの色の車を送ったって。そんなはずはない。実際に届いたのは違う色の車だって言えば。じゃあ輸送中に誰かが色を塗り替えたんだ。とにかくうちのミスじゃないって。そんなバカな話ってある？それで結局泣き寝入りしてしまうのが善人なのよ。結局のところ、善人なんてのは弱者を耳障り良くしただけのことよ。それも極端だと思うけどな。
Yeah, I feel like I might get cut on your edge. Nice person equals weakling. Trapped in the bottom of a gloomy ravine, we are all struggling to stay alive from day to day. Act like a soft-hearted good girl in such a harsh situation, you'd only be taken advantage of. Again, like Amani just said, extremes. People aren't actually the extremes, they just like believing other people are the extremes. It was an extreme argument, even a moral one, but I couldn't deny there was a kernel of truth buried underneath the bitterness. I mean, yeah, every opinion has some at least. I think I when I say it, I use kernel too. Kernel of truth in everyone's opinion. People don't believe things for no reason, at the very least. Ibuki had a definite dislike for soft-hearted people from the very beginning. She's always the sort to be vocal about her distaste. But since the fall, that element of her personality had been growing more and more pronounced, and acerbic by the day. Little by little, everything was everything was growing warped. Without food, Our minds were robbed of composure, and surely as our bodies were robbed of nutrients. Under such conditions, human beings lose their self-restraint. They slide slowly off the rails. I watched Ibuki quietly from behind me as we walked. Her school uniform was seriously grimy. Not that mine was any better, no matter how diligently we washed our clothes. It was just unavoidable in this place. Ibuki had been one of the more fashion-conscious girls on the team, but the last few days she hadn't even been glancing in her mirror. Without warning, she came to a stop and turned back to face me.
あれ、何の話をしてたんだっけ？
あ、イタリア人の話？
あ、そっか。どこまで話したっけ？
Something wrong? Does malnutrition lead to absent-mindedness and loss of short-term memory?
その話はもう終わったと思うけど。
そうだっけ？ごめん。なんか私、ぼーっとしてたみたい。なんだか最近、
いぶき、大丈夫？
To a greater or lesser extent, everyone here had been losing weight, but Ibuki had been slim in the first place. She was edging into the emaciated territory. Her arms were thin as branches on a withered tree when they emerged from her sleeves.
いぶき、また痩せた？
ああ、かもね。
She laughed it off, getting thinner and thinner, even though I'm not doing anything at all. What was the point of all the hard work I put into those diets? But I found it impossible to crack a smile in return.
体重計があれば何キロ減ったかわかるのにな。
ちゃんと食べた方がいいよ。
食べるって何を？
それは。
When she asked point blank like that, I don't have much to say. We both knew perfectly well that there's nothing left to fill her stomach. Watching as I hesitated awkwardly, Ibuki gave a high-pitched little giggle, then turned around and walked straight towards her tent. Human beings are malleable. Our environments change us. Human beings are malleable. Our environments changes us. Dropped into a warp situation, we are slowly warping ourselves to match. Small personality shifts like Ibuki's were far from the worst of it. Our extended stay in space had given rise to far more serious problems, some of which were rapidly becoming impossible to ignore.
あまね、悪いけれど、また薬草を積んできてもらえない？また毒ダミでいい？お願い。あと、できれば何か食べられそうなものを探してきてくれると助かるわ。探してはみるけど。わかってる。見つけるまで帰ってくるなとは言わないわ。薬草を積むついでに探すだけでいいから。わかった。
The large tent, in other words, our little camp's sad excuse for a hospital. Kazuki was visiting it several times a day, conversing with and treating the wounded. Sakurai's wounds had given initial indications of recovery, but to the point she was increasingly able to move around. But after a few days, it apparently had begun to fester. In fact, it was that very mobility that caused the problem. After many long days of lying in that human tent, breathing the air thick with the pus and sweat characteristic of the place occupied by the wounded, Sakurai snuck out in Kazuki's absence and bathed in the bacteria-laden spring. The gash in her abdomen wasn't so deep as to threaten her life, but it was by no means shallow. Thanks to her malnutrition, the laceration simply hadn't closed completely, and so it seems the bacteria invaded her body, infecting the wound. She can definitely, yep, that's a death sentence. In this case, in this situation, yeah. Fortunately, chameleon plants were the one thing we had abundance of. No matter how many I picked, they seemed to grow right back. As the plants like to grow in marshy damp spots, all I had to do was look for places sheltered from the sun, especially after a rainy day like yesterday. There would be large quantities waiting. The rain brought a number of other blessings apart from the chameleon plants. In particular, a large number of snails had appeared in the forest. Mushrooms had also sprouted up, but I wasn't about to thoughtlessly start grabbing at them. Kazuki had severely beaten into my head that at a moment's overconfidence or a trivial act of carelessness could prove fatal. Opening the lid of our rice cooker, I began picking a moderate number of chameleon leaves, careful not to take too many from any one plant. While I was at it, I grabbed a few snails as they crawled slowly across nearby tree branches. Every time I tossed a snail into the makeshift bucket, its shell hit the bottom of the illuminated cooker with a sharp little rattle. Hearing that sound drove home the realization I'd been reduced to viewing slugs as food, and the surge of self-pity abruptly welled up inside me. It is what it is. Feeling the corners of my eyes grow hot, I sniffled in a futile attempt to hold my misery inside. Crying wasn't going to help anything. I knew that all too well, but the tears still came. Don't think too much. As long as I stay alive, I'll be rescued. As long as I don't give up, I'll get home. Empty words, but I forced myself to believe them. It was the only thing that kept my hands moving. It was the only way I could see going on is anything but ridiculous. I had plucked a few dozen leaves from chameleon plants and captured 2 snails when an unpleasant surprise pulled me back to reality. Glancing down, I noticed with a start that my sock was stained dark red. Uh-oh. A leech had latched onto the calf of my left leg. It hung suspended from my skin, rounded and fat with my blood. Oh, crap. It seems snails weren't the only slimy invertebrates that had multiplied in the wake of the torrential rain. Normally, I would have shrieked at the sight of the vile little creature, probably collapsed to my knees, weeping hysterically. Instead, I grabbed the leech firmly, peeled it off my legs, and tossed it into trees with a detached, mechanical calm that surprised myself. After removing the teeth still stuck with my blood, I carefully squeezed the wound to wring out the leech's poison. Apparently it's called Hirudin. But now that I look, it was a numb, bleeding bite on my right leg as well. The leech had apparently already drank its fill, as it was nowhere to be found. Wow. Damn. For some reason, the collar of my uniform felt oddly tingling against my skin. My heart thudded with cold dread as I slowly tentatively brought my hand towards the back of my neck. My fingers brushed against a fast, slimy body. This time, I screamed. Ripping the leech off my neck, I hurled it hard against the ground and rained a furious series of kicks down on it, but the thing just didn't want to die. As I ground the writhing leech in the mud of my heel, my own blood gushed out in little spurts from its smashed body. I was seized by such an intense dizzying spasm of sheer loathing that I thought I might pass out in the spine. Wow, how did you get 3 on you? Are they like falling from the trees? Especially up there. Is that how leeches work? I don't think I've ever had to deal with that before. I couldn't take this anymore. I just couldn't. Lukewarm blood trickled endlessly down the back of my neck. I pressed my hand against the wound, but it just wouldn't stop. This trip is over. Just as I decided to head back, I casually glanced up the sound of a slight rustling from above. The next instant, a number of leeches came raining down from overlapping tree branches overhead, aiming for me. Clutching the mess kit tightly to my chest, I ran suddenly out of the forest as fast as my legs would carry me. Listen very carefully, city dwellers. I'm willing to bet some of y'all have been known to say things like, I love nature, being out in the green heals my soul, or whatever, yeah? Well, if you ever find yourself in need of a broken nose, try repeating when I'm in the room. Those tiny little trails you hike down with their trimmed trees and color-coded maps and porta potties and rest stations. That's an artificial playground for human beings. In that moment, watching this unceasing trickling of blood seeping down my uniform, I came to hate nature from the bottom of my heart.
いい加減にしなさい。こんな食事でも食べられない子もいるのよ。
When I turned with the mess kit covered in my own blood, I heard a snarling voice inside that large tent. Captain Sakashida's here. I hesitated for a moment at the entrance. Looking around, I saw the rest of the girls in the area were similarly frozen in awkward uncertainty, looking deliberately from the tent but clearly listening. I couldn't just do nothing. Maybe just nonchalantly popping in there would drain some of the tension from the air. Heaving a single heavy sigh, I braced myself emotionally, then stooped down and passed through the open tent flap. We might have called it a large tent, but it wasn't exactly spacious as hospitals go. When I crawled inside, the scent of closely packed, sedentary bodies was as thick as always. You know, at this point, I'm not really sure what direction it's gonna go in terms of getting them out of this, because yeah, it's only getting worse and nothing's changed in terms of fixing stuff. Obviously something has to break at some point, whether it's the people's minds or someone's body. I still sort of get a feeling like Amane's gonna not get rescued but make it out physically herself, but the more time goes on and the more as little resources as possible are left. I almost wonder if Kazuki brought up that Shall we call it the fun plan? Yes, the fun plan. Maybe as a way of trying to put it in Amane's mind as an option. Just to make Amane think about that being a possibility. Okay, well, due to time limits, I think, as I'm not sure how long this is going to take next, we can have another sort of awkward ending place, so I guess I'll see you all next time. Drive safely, everyone.